Hello, fifth grade. Today we are doing lesson 1.1 and it is over understanding fractions. This should be a little bit of a review again from what you already know about fractions from fourth grade, but we want to make sure that we understand all of these parts before we start fractions with our fifth grade stuff. So first we need to know some vocabulary words. The first word we need to make sure we know is fraction. If we're going to be working with fractions, we have to know what a fraction is. Okay, be thinking in your head, what is a fraction? I'm going to write down some examples. We could have 2/5. That's a fraction. We could have 3/4. We could have 6/8. We could have 9/10, or we could have 1/3. All of those would be examples of fractions. Another vocabulary word that we need to remember when we're working with fractions is called a numerator. Think back to fourth grade and see if you can remember what a numerator is. The numerator is the top number on a fraction. It is the top number of a fraction. So if I'm pointing to this fraction right here, the numerator would be 2 because it is the top number of that fraction. If I'm pointing to this fraction back here, the numerator would be 9 because it is the top number. Kind of going along with numerator, there is another word that we need to know, and it is called denominator. If you remember way back to fourth grade again when we learned fractions, the denominator is the bottom number of the fraction. That is what we call the number on the bottom of the fraction, denominator. So the denominator is the bottom number of a fraction. So again, if we go back up to our fractions and we practice, if I'm pointing to this fraction, the denominator is 4 because that's the bottom number. Or if I go over here to this one, the denominator would be 3 because that's the bottom number. One more vocabulary word that we have to make sure we know is unit fraction. Unit fraction is what we are going to be working with today for the most part, so it's going to be super important that you understand what a unit fraction is before you start your assignment today. A unit fraction always has a 1 as the numerator. So if I want a unit fraction, I have to have a 1 on top. It means one piece of the whole. So a unit fraction example would be like 1/3 would be a unit fraction because there's 1 on top. 1/7 would be a unit fraction. 1/12 would be a unit fraction. 1/5 would be a unit fraction. And we'll do one more example. 1/16 would be a unit fraction. Any number can be on the bottom, but to be a unit fraction, it has to have a 1 up here on the top. So that's what we're going to be working with for the most part today. Let's do some examples down here with our fraction bars. Looking at the first fraction bar, I want to label each one of these pieces. So I'm going to count how many pieces there are. And that's going to be my bottom number. And my top number is going to be a 1 because each piece is by itself. So this is 1/3. Hopefully you got 3 pieces here. 1/3 and 1/3. just showing how to label those. If I go down to the next one, I want you to be thinking in your mind at home, what fraction would I put in each one of those? Hopefully you said 1/4 because there are 4 pieces, so 4 would be our denominator, 1/4. We can also do addition and subtraction problems with these, so let's try that on the next one. First, we need to label our pieces. Hopefully you are counting to figure out what our denominator is going to be. This one is 1/5 because there are 5 pieces. I'm going to circle these first couple. And I want to know how much is in my circle. Hopefully, you are thinking it would be 2/5 because you would be correct. To get 2/5, all I did was look in my circle and I used addition. So I did 1/5, which was this first one, plus 1 more 5th, which was my second one in the circle. And 1 plus 1 is 2. My bottom number always stays the same. So in the circle, that would be 2/5. Let's try another one kind of like that, going down here. I'm gonna label each box. Hopefully you are thinking that we should be putting 1/6 here. There are 6 pieces, so I have to label each one 1/6. I'm going to circle a couple of those again. Circle on this side this time. I want to know what fraction is in my circle. In my mind, I'm thinking that I'm just going to add up each of these pieces. So I'm going to do 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6. And that should equal, think in your mind, 3/6. Remember, with fractions, we add all of our top numbers. 1 plus 1 plus 1, that's 3. Our bottom number stays the same when we're doing addition. All right, let's do one more. Counting my boxes first to see how many there are. That tells me what my unit fraction is going to be. This time it's going to be 1/8. Hopefully you got 8 pieces there. Labeling all of my spots first. Getting all of my unit fractions in there. And then I'm going to circle a couple this time. So first I'm going to circle right here. And then I'm going to circle right here. And we're going to do addition using our fraction strip. So let's look at the first circle first. We are thinking, what fraction is in the first circle? Hopefully you said 3/8. Because there is 1/8, 1/8, and 1/8. All together that would be 3/8. Plus, now let's look at my second circle here. What fraction is in my second circle? Hopefully you said 2/8 because I have 1/8 and 1/8. Adding those together, that would give me 2/8 right there. And what would be in all of this together? So we're adding our first circle and our second circle. We should get 5/8 because 3 plus 2 is 5. Our bottom number stays the same. Or you could have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we are working with eighths, so that would give us 5/8. Hopefully you remember a little bit of these vocabulary words from 4th grade, and this review will be very helpful to you when you go to do your assignment. So you may go find your assignment, and good luck. Do your best.